Monica Meaux Hope is a talented vocalist, playwright, composer, and emerging actress. She has performed over the years at many venues, including the Harlem's Lenox Lounge, Minton's, Rockwood Music Hall, the Triad, and the Cutting Room, singing contemporary R&B, blues, and jazz. To create Healing Fractures, a one-woman show with music, Meaux wrote monologues from her NYU graduating thesis memoir and wrote 12 songs to continue the storyline. She also incorporates 3 instrumentals written by her jazz pianist parents, her late father, Elmo Hope, and her mother, Bertha Hope. The play is her story, the frustrations of an artist, lingering childhood traumas, the roller coaster of life's challenges. Through her monologues and singing powerful gospel, R&B, and jazzy blues songs, she shares deeply personal revelations, seeking to connect everyone's struggle to heal past wounds and reclaim inner joy. Healing Fractures was selected by the New York Theater Festival to participate in its Winterfest competition with 3 showings in January 2017 at New York City's Hudson Guild Theater in Chelsea. Out of 60-plus plays in 9 categories, Meaux won Best Singer. Meaux has a new director and is anticipating a late spring relaunch of Healing Fractures. So stay tuned.
My middle name is unusual. It is spelled M-E-A-U-X and it's pronounced Meaux. It is a nod in honor of my mother's maiden name, which is Meaux. And I also thought it would be great to have a performance name that was just 1 syllable, especially since there's already a singer named Monica, there's already an actress named Monique, and there's a prior singer named Monifa, and I didn't want there to be any confusion about who I was. What I consider my primary art form as a performer is singing and songwriting. Those are the things that stand out the most. Although I also do write poetry, I write prose and short stories, I write screenplays and memoir. My influences growing up, I would have to say, one of the biggest ones was Gladys Knight. I always sang Gladys Knight songs, but I also sang Natalie Cole and Barbra Streisand, and I was also heavily influenced by the music of Stevie Wonder, the Jackson 5, Earth, Wind & Fire, and Elton John and Billy Joel, Queen. I like all different types of music, and I would say that they all inspire me in different types of ways, different types of music. I realized I had a passion for singing probably when I was a teenager attending music and art high school, before it was called Fiorello H. LaGuardia ... I sang in the chorus then, and I also sang in the gospel choir. My newfound passion was very well received, actually. I remember always all throughout my life, people always expect me to sing at every party or event. And I would say that I have been well received in my gospel choir when I sing. I always get a lead or 2. So people have been very supportive of me over the years in my artistic endeavors. Well, if you ask my mother, she will tell you that I started babbling melodies when I was 6 months old. That's from her mouth, not from mine. Of course, I don't remember it. But I also would always write the lyrics of different songs so that I could sing along. And I did start writing my own songs when I was about 14 years old. The very first song that I wrote back then when I was 14 was lyrics and melodies to piano arrangements written by my friend Byron Norwood, who gave me a cassette one day and said, "Hey, write something to this." And so I did, and it was really a lot of fun to be inspired by someone else's piano arrangement and write lyrics and melodies to that. Now when I write, I have my own melodies and my own lyrics that don't require someone else to give me an arrangement. I decided to write this play, Healing Fractures, after I had an opportunity to be in someone else's play, but really it goes back sooner than that. My mother and I wrote a play called Ashes from My Wings, which we performed in 2003. We were not able to have anything further happen with it after the 3 performances we did, but it was always in the back of my mind, wow, it sure would be nice to do something to really work on the Healing Fractures play. This play relates to my spiritual practices in that it talks about gospel music and how I started singing gospel when I was 10 years old, and how over the years I returned to church and sang gospel again. And there is a very strong relationship. I have a strong relationship with God. This has been the case since I was a child. And even though I've moved away from the church and come back, ultimately there is a sense of strength and power and connection to the Creator. And that is imbued in the body of this play from beginning to the end. It's one of the story arcs, actually. My goals in the play, Healing Fractures, was to find a way to tell the story in an intriguing and interesting way, and also include time and place in terms of history in different segments of the play, so that an audience, for example, would be able to feel a connection to what I'm talking about in a particular scene, because I'm also talking about something that happened in the world at the time. So people could remember, hey, I know where I was when that happened, or I remember seeing that picture before. And so that is what it is that I use. That's the thing that I use for inspiration, I guess. I did use references in the play. For a really good example is that, this is a spoiler alert, a good example is that when we moved from the 900 block to the 1000 block in the Northeast Bronx, same year that the Beatles and Diana Ross and the Supremes broke up. And what I did was I went online and literally was like, what was going on in whatever that year was? And I just chose something I thought was interesting that people would be able to recognize instantly. Everybody knows the Beatles and everybody knows Diana Ross and the Supremes. So I just chose that. Also, too, there were tons of things going on that year, but those were musicians. And as an artist, I thought that was a connection that was sort of an obvious one. Honestly, the hardest part of writing this play was not really knowing the emotional impact that it was going to have on me to revisit these issues and situations, conditions and circumstances of my past. I would often find myself in tears, just having not made the connection between opening that long closed door and stepping into that abyss. Even though it's autobiographical, for the first 17 years of my life, with broad brushstrokes to the present, which at the time was 2008, it stands out because you can connect with me. Every person will be able to connect with me. Everyone has a story. Every human being's life is a story that connects the fabric of the world together. And so if I'm saying something that happened to me, someone might say, hey, that happened to me, or you know what, that happened to my cousin. Hey, I know someone that experienced the same thing. So I believe that my play allows other people to connect to the story, connect to it emotionally in a lot of other different ways. So I think that's one of the things that makes it stand out above other plays. Once I finished recording the vocals for Healing Fractures, all of the music is already recorded. I am looking forward to going back in the recording studio and doing an entire gospel CD of all songs that I wrote, my first gospel CD, and then after that I would like to do a jazz standard CD. Both of my parents, Bertha Hope and the late Elmo Hope, were jazz pianists, and I would love to include one or two of my father's songs that I write lyrics and melodies to, and that's a very huge challenge because my father's music is very difficult to play for musicians that are highly seasoned. So, but I'd love that challenge. It would be really great. I really hope that people come out to see Healing Fractures. I hope they're really intrigued and interested in what they see and what they hear. And I'm looking forward to getting back on stage. Right now, we're looking to be back on stage later this spring. And who knows where we're going to go after that. Just follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Now you lift me high.